Hey everybody, it's Emily Carlin here, Territory Manager in Western Wisconsin, and I am here with my dad, Chip Flory. There's a lot of uncertainty going around with the dairy industry and with the egg industry in general right now due to COVID-19, and so we thought that it would be great to get my dad here to answer a few questions. There's a lot of I don't know still out there because it's a continuing two-division story by the hour right now, but we wanted to start with the dairy industry, Dad. So there's milk trucks being dumped, but there's limited restrictions to buy dairy products at the stores happening right now. Why?
Well, why is a good question, and thanks. I've never seen separation of markets like we are seeing right now. The separation of the wholesale from the retail, separation of grocery from food service. The problem is the food service side of things. That's where it's all happening because we've lost. I mean, even losing the cream market from restaurant sales out there, that's devastating. And when you look at how many restaurants are shut down, and even those that are doing the carryout aren't doing carryout on dairy items. There's just no question about it. So you get to the retail level and the grocery stores, they went through a scare, a demand shock, where consumers came in and bought up everything that they had on the shelves. Well, then it came time to replace it. They didn't want to get caught in that situation again where they had to deal with a shortage and be out of product. You hear me talk about how important it is for the United States to be a reliable supplier to the globe, whether we're talking about corn, wheat, soybeans, beef, pork, whatever it is. That retailer, that grocery store wants to be a reliable supplier as well. If somebody comes into their store expecting to be able to buy a gallon of milk, they want that gallon of milk to be there. So the demand shock that we are seeing on the food service side is causing the dumping, and that effort to be a reliable supplier is why you've still got some of the groceries out there that are putting limits on how many gallons of milk you can buy. It's just one of the strangest things I've ever seen, Em. But I don't know how else to explain it. It's a disconnect of the different segments of a market like we've never seen before.
Right. So this makes it, very hard on any of the creameries out there, any of the milk buyers, but it makes an even bigger hurt on the dairy farmers on what they're supposed to be doing right now. So there's a lot of, economic stimulus packages. I don't know if that's the right turn to this. I mean, it's more of a crisis package at this point, but, what are still some of those uncertainties about the carve-outs of how these programs are going to work, and what clarity can you bring to us at this point?
Okay. First off, we're going to see the largest spending bill ever passed make its way from the president's desk to implementation in about 10 days. It should have been a minimum of 10 weeks to roll this program out. Obviously, you don't have time for that. So they're rolling it out as quickly as they can. The Paycheck Protection Program in particular, I think, is catching a lot of attention out there. And I'm going to look away from you guys here for a second and read something off my screen. Farms with less than 500 employees qualify for payment for Paycheck Protection Program loans under the $349 billion Small Business Administration Loan Program. I'm reading from Pro Farmer, by the way. It's going to be delivered here in the next hour or so. So they do qualify from it, though some state SBA offices may tell you otherwise. Also, when you go to the SBA.gov website and you start to look at the eligibility requirements, right there, they've still got, the last I checked, they've still got a checklist on there And one of the things that disqualifies you, according to this checklist, is you are a farm. That is an old list. It should have never been copied over there. And now that they've copied it over there, you know how websites go. Now they can't get the freaking thing off of there.
Right.
So they're struggling with that. But it's an old list that they copied over, and people are going to that and saying, everybody is wrong because it says this on this website. No, the website is wrong. And when you hear somebody say the farms are eligible for the Paycheck Protection Program, believe them, because that's the way it is. They're right. All right. Now, most farms are going to be excluded from the economic injury disaster loans. That's according to analysis from the American Farm Bureau Federation, if FBA doesn't expand the annual receipts. And I don't know if that's going to happen or not, but I would guess that if it does happen, it's going to happen in the next round of a program, which will be phase 4, which could still be a few weeks off. So that's what I can tell you there. The other thing that I'm going to say about participating in the Paycheck Protection Program or the economic injury disaster loans, the EIDL loans, is talk to your business consultant, talk to your tax man, find out what's going to be the best mode of action, I guess, to give you guys the protection and the help that they need.
Okay. So let's think past the crisis then a little bit.
Okay.
What do you predict is going to happen to these prices in the grocery store once this is all said and done? I mean, how do we get back to normal? What does this do to our dairy prices sitting on the grocery store shelves?
Okay, so the retail prices. I think there may be a bit of a setback. I don't know if there's going to be a setback or not, because when you look at how the retailers have responded to lower box beef prices, lower pork product prices, low dairy prices, low milk prices, they maintain their profit margins, and they've maintained it unbelievably well. The trick is moving those dollars from the retail all the way down through the supply chain and getting it down into the farm gate, into the farmer's pocket. We've been very hesitant to do that since we set record high retail beef prices back in 13, 14. We just haven't seen that retail price connected to farm gate price. We've seen that connection deteriorate. I think that's maybe the best way of saying it. So are we going to see pressure on retail prices in an effort to bring demand back in? I really don't think so. We talk about and we complain about the packer margins on the beef side of things, where they're making $400, $500 a head on cattle when the feed yard's losing 70 or $100 a head. Yeah, it's one thing to complain about it, and hey, I'm not saying that the packers shouldn't be moving more of that profit down. They should be. But what we're discovering is that the consumer demand for food is fairly inelastic. Once you see a price increase for something, you don't necessarily have to see a price setback at the retail level in order to increase demand. Dr. Wayne Purcell at Virginia Tech, he taught the lesson, and he taught it so well. Selling more milk at a lower price is not an increase in demand. Selling more milk at the same price is an increase in demand. And obviously, selling more milk at a higher price is an increase in demand. And all we're looking to do is maintain the demand. So, when you've got lawmakers like Senator Grassley out of Iowa that is actively pursuing an investigation into the cattle industry, into the cattle market, that's going to include all the way to the retail level. They may take some of what they find from an investigation into the cattle industry and just slop the the findings over to the pork industry, to the dairy industry, to the poultry industry. They may try to whitewash everything with whatever they find in that investigation of the cattle. And these are unprecedented times, so don't be surprised if maybe lawmakers wouldn't say something like, and to increase demand overall, retailers, grocery stores, you're going to bring the price down. I guess that could happen, but I wouldn't count on it.
Okay. So let's jump back here just for a few clarification points. So Small Business Association loans and then the economic injury disaster loans. Can growers and dairy producers, can they participate in both of those? And what do you know the caps on how much money can be loaned from both programs?
I don't think that they can. I don't think you can participate in both. Here we go. I'm looking at a blog post from Paul Neiffer at Farm CPA on Twitter, and Clifton Larson Allen. We use him a lot on the show, and he's pretty responsive. Everybody should look at this blog post, by the way. So I'll make sure that you got the link.
Yep, I'll share it with everybody.
Okay. But if we asked him about the revenues, there's no limit on revenue. As a matter of fact, there's a proposal to look at maybe a $10 million limit. But I don't even think they're going to do that. It's as long as you're under 500, you are eligible for participation in the Paycheck Protection Program. Can you participate in both? I don't believe that you can. Okay. The other question is how you handle the self-employment income. Okay. It's going to come down, I think, to how that is calculated. Is it only the income off of Schedule F, or does it include equipment appreciation? Okay. I don't know how that is going to be handled. I don't know if Paul knows for sure how that is going to be handled. But everybody needs to read this blog post from Paul Neiffer, too. I think that'll answer a lot of the questions on the participation. Right.
And any additional blog posts about this subject will be posted to AgWeb and ProFarmer.com, right?
Well, this one's a little bit different. This one might be kind of a special little sneak treat that not a lot of people get to look at, but I'm sending it, as you can tell, I'm sending it to you right now.
Sounds good.
That way these guys can get a look at it.
Okay, sounds good. I'll make sure that I share that with everybody. So let's take it to one more extreme. I've got one more question about the dairy industry. So let's take it to the far out crisis of this. Have there been any talks of a dairy buyout program? So, pulling 10% of the herds, what does that entail right now?
Yeah. As far as a dairy buyout program, I haven't heard that conversation, but knowing the people that are in place at USDA, I'm sure they've talked about it. I mean, guys like Greg Ibaugh and Bill Northey and Sensky and those guys, they've been around. They know what all the options are in a situation. They know what all the options are that have been considered in the past and some of the things that have been put in play. And so since a dairy buyout has been used in the past, I would guess that it's been talked about. Here's the problem. Another thing that has been talked about for sure is reopening the DMC sign up. Okay. The problem is, and we talked about this with Jim Wiesmeyer on the show this morning, Emily, is the moral hazard involved there. Okay. Because what happens if you do that? Do you also have to reopen signups for ARC versus PLC now that we've seen more pressure on corn prices and bean prices and the PLC program is paying? Do you have to reopen that? someone asked the question when we were having the discussion on the air this morning. Somebody asked the question on one of our little, chat boxes that we've got going while we're having the free for all. At some point, I'm just going to have to start reading those, by the way, because that might be where the real stinging comments are made. We don't hold back on calling each other names when we're doing that. But the question came on: Can I buy Can I buy insurance on my house after it started on fire? The answer to that is no, you can't. So, do you reopen the DMC? The moral hazard there says no. Okay. All kinds of things have been considered, and on the dairy buyout, okay. On the risk is what you're talking about there is doing some fine tuning or doing some. If you do a dairy buyout, you better, by God, do it right, and you better get the number exactly right, because when we do get past this and the social distancing requirements are gone now, and here's one thing that I haven't talked about on the show at all, but it is something that I think needs to be considered. Right now, when the social distancing ends, it feels like it's going to be a hockey stick kind of recovery. It's going to be a long bottom and then a longer recovery to the upside. It's not going to be any of this V recovery unless, what if the social distancing ends because we've got a vaccine or a cure or whatever that is fast-tracked and everybody can go in and get a shot and not have to worry about it. If that happens, baby, I mean, we will recover faster than anything has ever recovered before. If you tell me that I can get a shot, and you know how I am about freaking needles, I hate them. But if you tell me that I can get a shot and not have to worry about coronavirus after that, I'm going to the movies. I'm going out for supper. I'm going to the bar. We're going to be up at the river, We're going to be having fun with our friends.
Right.
Isolation over. That's when you get the V recovery, something like that. If it's not something like that, then it's going to be a very slow, cautious, slowly moving back into into what we're used to dealing with, and what we consider normal.
Right, into normalcy and being in groups and everything again. Yeah.
Right.
Dad, Chip, you've done an amazing job here. Thank you for your clarity. Thank you for your honest answers.
Wow.
The extra little touch that you can give us that we might not see on the radio every day.
That's right.
Appreciate it.
You bet. No worries. Good luck to you all out there. Stay safe.
Thanks, Dad.